WADR, promoting dialogue.
Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink, and here are the top stories. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye calls for justice closer to citizens.
Des assises de la justice permettront de répondre aux problématiques les plus urgentes.
The conclusions of the Conference on Justice will enable us to respond to the most pressing issue.
Liberia's President Bouakai suspends NEC chairman David Brown-Lansana for disrupting action. Nigerian army says 76 Islamist militants killed in Borno State.
We recovered one GP general purpose machine gun, 68 AK-47 rifles, and one AK-56 rifle, 4 FN rifle, among other items recovered during the week.
And the Gambia Police Force says its national road operation is not a witch hunt. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast this evening. Let's begin in Senegal, where President Diomaye Faye on Thursday announced the creation of a committee to implement the recommendations of the recent Justice Conference while calling for a more humane, accessible and efficient justice system. During the solemn ceremony marking the return of courts and tribunals, Senegalese President Diomaye Faye unveiled major reforms aimed at transforming the justice system and regulating the exercise of the rights to strike. The president stressed the importance of a justice system that is close to citizens, open to change and modernization, while warning against the autarky of the judicial system. Abdullah Hassan completes the story.
The president, presiding over the solemn ceremony marking the return of courts and tribunals on Thursday, announced a series of major reforms to the justice system and strengthened supervision of the right to strike. President Faye insisted on the need to bring justice closer to the people and to open the judicial world to questioning, to changes and to modernization, warning against the temptation of insularity and withdrawal. Speaking on the right to strike, the head of state recalled that this right must neither undermine freedom of work nor endanger the company or essential public services. He says,
Les conclusions des assises de la justice permettront de répondre aux problématiques les plus urgentes.
The conclusions of the Conference on Justice will enable us to respond to the most pressing issue. The theme that brings us together today is the right to strike and the preservation of public order. It is an invitation to the judicial players to reflect on the delicate but essential balance between respect for rights and good community order. Mr. Letanian, Deputy Counsel at the Supreme Court, whom I congratulate, has just set out the terms of this reflection with great relevance. The right to strike, an essential component of trade union freedom, is fundamental because it is enshrined both nationally and internationally. It is guaranteed by the Constitution and reaffirmed by international standards such as the Conventions of the International Labour Organization,
ainsi que de la Convention numéro 98 sur le droit d'organisation et de négociation collective de 1949.
In his speech to the Supreme Court, the head of state confirmed the establishment of a committee responsible for implementing the recommendations from the recent justice conferences organized at the beginning of his term. A major reform of legal aid has been announced with a draft law and a decree in preparation. This reform aims to go beyond the current framework based on a simple memorandum of understanding from 2005 to extend legal aid to victims and civil cases, while it is currently limited to defendants in criminal matters.
Abdullah Hassan filed that report. In Côte d'Ivoire, the Abidjan Court of Appeal has upheld a 2-year prison sentence of 2 senior members of the opposition movement Generations Responsible People Solidaire, GPS, led by former Prime Minister Guillaume Soro. Kando, Somoro and Mamadou Traoré were found guilty of illegal maintenance of a political party and disturbing public order. Augustine Coley tells us more in this report.
The GPS movement, described by its members as an association rather than a political party, was dissolved by the courts in 2021. Suleimani Jallo, one of the lawyers for the convicted, announced an appeal, stating that the prosecution's charges are unfounded. Kando Sumaoro had already been convicted in August for signing on behalf of GPS a joint opposition declaration calling for reform of the electoral system in preparation for the October 2025 presidential election. He had also previously served a prison sentence in 2019 for spreading false news and disturbing public order. Mamadou Traoré, for his part, was sentenced in August 2024 to 2 years in prison for proposals posted on Facebook criticizing Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara. He was found guilty of disseminating false news likely to demoralize the population and disturbing public order. Guillaume Soro, former leader of the Ivorian Rebellion in the 2000s, former Prime Minister and President of the National Assembly, has been living in exile since 2019 after a break with Alassane Ouattara. In his absence, he was sentenced in 2020 to 20 years in prison for concealment of embezzlement of public funds and in 2021 to life imprisonment for endangering state security. Since the end of 2023, he has reportedly been living between Niger and Burkina Faso, two countries governed by military regimes at odds with Cote d'Ivoire.
Augustine Curley filed that report. In Liberia, President Joseph Boakai has suspended head of the country's elections commission, Madame Davidetta Brown-Lansana, for an indefinite period following actions deemed disruptive to public order and stability. According to an executive mansion release, the suspension follows an investigation into recent protests by aggrieved neck workers regarding administrative decisions taken without proper consultation. According to the findings, Brown-Lansana unilaterally announced the closure of the office for 1 month and dismissed 25 employees without the knowledge or approval of the NEC Board of Commissioners as required by law. The President cited Section 2.1 and Section 2.10d of the 1986 New Elections Law, which vests the authority to conduct NEC affairs in the Board of Commissioners as a collective body. The law mandates that decisions involving corrective measures against employees must be taken in consultation with the board, not by the chairperson or any individual commissioner acting alone. The President expressed concern that such actions could adversely impact the NEC's ability to conduct by-elections scheduled within the next 2 months, while also creating a toxic working environment at the Commission. Meanwhile, President Joseph Boakai officially launched his government's agenda for inclusive development along with the 15 counties development programs. This historic event occurred on Wednesday in Buchanan, Grand Bassa County, marking a significant advancement in Liberia's national development journey. Referred to as the Arrest Agenda, the 5-year strategic document serves as Liberia's fourth post-conflict national development plan, aimed at helping the country achieve its Liberia 2030 vision.
We must address the realities of corruption, inadequate infrastructure, and limited access to education and healthcare. The OID confront these challenges directly, aligning with global frameworks such as the Sustainable Development Goals, Africa's Agenda 2063, and ECOWAS Vision 2050 to ensure a holistic, sustainable, and inclusive approach.
Liberian President Joseph Boakai.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Human Rights Watch on Thursday released its World Report 2025, which highlights global human rights violations and related issues. The report, titled A Year of Reckoning, examines the human rights situation in over 100 countries from the past year. It identifies numerous failures of governments to address human rights issues, although some countries are making efforts to ensure accountability for these violations. During a virtual press conference, panelists discussed the renewed armed conflict between the Israeli government and Hamas, as well as ongoing conflicts in Ukraine, Sudan, Haiti, Syria, and the Sahel. Tirana Hassan is Executive Director of Human Rights Watch.
2024 revealed many failures, but it actually also saw inspiring acts of resilience in defense of human rights. Governments worldwide were called to act in line with their obligations on human rights, democracy, and humanitarian action, and many failed. In China, Russia, and Venezuela, repression actually intensified. The conflicts in Gaza, Sudan, and Ukraine brought devastating human costs, again showing how fragile international norms are when they are not backed up by political will. Yet across the world, people rose up to demand change. They were proving that the fight for rights is alive and well, and it begins with ordinary individuals. The vital role of civil society and journalists in holding truth to power and to make governments accountable to the people that they're supposed to serve. Protecting freedom of expression and independent media remains a priority, even as authoritarian regimes work to silence dissent under all of their regimes. In country after country, we see defenders and organizations who are pushing back against unchecked power of real and want-to-be autocrats being shut down, disappeared, surveilled, and arrested.
Tirana Hassan is Executive Director of Human Rights Watch. In the meantime, the Nigerian army says troops have killed 76 Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP militants in the country's northeastern Borno state in recent weeks. The militants were believed to belong to the armed group Boko Haram and its offshoot ISWAP, who have been waging a deadly insurgency in northeast Nigeria since 2009 that has displaced millions and killed thousands in Borno as its epicenter. The militants have stepped up attacks in Borno since the turn of the year, including an assault on Dumba community on Sunday where at least 40 farmers were killed. Military spokesperson Major General Edward Buba said troops killed 24 fighters during offensive operations in Damboa, Bama and Chibok areas of Borno between January 7 and 13. He did not provide details on troops' casualties during the operations.
We recovered one GPL general purpose machine gun, 68 AK-47 rifles, and one AK-56 rifle, 4 FN rifles, among other items recovered during the week. Other items include over 1,600 rounds of 7.62 millimeter special ammunition, as well as over 670 rounds of 7.62 millimeter NATO ammunition, 8 vehicles, 42 motorcycles, and 29 mobile phones, among other items recovered in the course of operations this week. Troops in the Niger Delta area discovered and destroyed 48 crude oil cooking ovens, 10 dugout pits, 28 boats, and 6 speedboats, among other items recovered in the course of the week. Troops equally recovered over 705,000 liters of stolen crude oil, over 6,800 liters of illegally refined AGO, otherwise known as diesel, as well as over 1,500 liters of DPK, otherwise known as kerosene, and 800 liters of PMS, otherwise known as petrol.
That was Nigerian military spokesperson Major General Edward Buba. Meanwhile, for the fight against terrorism to be effective, concerted actions are needed between the armies of the countries bordering Benin. This is the government's reaction after the terrorist attack of January 8. The spokesperson for the Beninese government, Wilfred Hungbeji, on these headlines of his report of the Council of Ministers held on Wednesday, frowned at the attack by terrorists, which cost the lives of around 30 Beninese soldiers. Christopher Teacher completes the story.
The Beninese government, through its spokesperson, deplored the lack of military cooperation with neighboring countries, Burkina Faso and Niger, highlighting the security challenges facing Benin. Benin deplores the absence of military contingents from neighboring countries. For Wilfred Hungbeji, no concrete strategy has been put in place despite Benin's calls for regional cooperation, notably through the Accra Initiative. Also, in this sensitive area, Benin is the only country with contingent ensuring the fight against terrorism. He stressed that other two sides of the border, Burkina Faso and Niger, do not have an effective military presence. Despite these weaknesses, reassurances from Benin's spokesperson, Benin reassures of the commitment of its army to defend the integrity of the national territory.
Christopher Ticho filed that report now to Ghana, where Malian Prime Minister Abdoulaye Mega has arrived for a state visit aimed at strengthening bilateral ties between the two nations. He was received at the airport by the legal advisor to the president, Marietta Wadr, the National Security Advisor, Prosper Bani, and other government officials. During his visit, Prime Minister Mega is expected to deliver a special message from Mali's President Assimi Goïta to Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama following his recent inauguration on January 7, 2025. Here is an extract of Prime Minister Mega's statement upon his arrival.
On behalf of His Excellency Assimi Goïta, Army General, President of the Transition, Head of States and Mali, we have the honor to be here tonight in Accra, Ghana. We have a message from our President, and this message is intended for his brother, His Excellency President Dramani Mahama. President Dramani Mahama was invested on January 7, 2025. In view, of course, of the excellent relationship between Mali and Ghana, it is quite normal, first of all, to wish good luck to the newly invested and democratically elected President of Ghana. We wish the good God to accompany him in this rich and accelerating program. For the moment, I prefer to keep it here, and as I said, we are bearers of a message that is intended first and foremost to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana.
Malian Prime Minister Abdoulaye Mega speaking there. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of the top stories. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye calls for justice closer to citizens. Liberia's President Bouakai suspends NEC Chairman Davideta Brown-Lansana for disrupting action. Nigerian Army says 76 Islamist militants killed in Borno State. Still ahead in the news, the Gambian Police Force says its national road operation is not a witch hunt. We do have a guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Well, don't forget, you can listen to us live on wadr.org, Facebook and YouTube for live streams. The Gambian Police Force has clarified that the national road clearing operation is not a witch hunting exercise, despite concerns from road users and residents. The statement follows the launch of the second phase of the operation on Wednesday. According to the police authorities, the purpose of the national road clearing exercise is to enhance public safety, protect the environment, and improve traffic flow. WDR's Banjul correspondent Sankule Janko reports.
The Gambia Police Force, in a public notice issued on Tuesday, says it has entered the most decisive phase of Operation Clear Public Highways and Roads. This exercise, since its first phase, does not go down well with vendors and individuals occupying public spaces and streets. However, speaking on Wednesday, the first day of the second phase of the operation, Police Public Relations Officer Modu Musa Sisao says the operation is not a witch hunt.
The purpose of this exercise is not a witch hunt on anybody, because at the end of the day, these are our mothers, our sisters, and our uncles, and these are the youth. But it was recognized that there is need for this, for the maintenance of peace, for the maintenance of security, and additionally for the environment. We have realized that there has been a lot of environmental sanitation issue around the markets on the road. And it is very important that as a country we work together in ensuring that we are able to provide a conducive environment for our population to live, survive, do businesses.
Despite public warnings since last year, compliance remains unacceptably low according to the police. The non-compliance, the police PRO says, continues to endanger public safety, disrupt traffic flow, and create unnecessary hazards for road users.
All of this is towards ensuring that our traffic, because there has been complaint. Many times when you are coming to work, I have always said this, from Brikama to Banjul, it takes you almost 2 hours when it should just be within 30 to 45 minutes. At the end of the day, we don't also want to be coming and causing chaos in the market, women running away. These are our mothers, these are our sisters, and they are working towards providing food for the family. We want them just to be seated and do their business peacefully and get their money and go back home and take care of family.
According to the Gambia Police Force, non-compliance will result in a series of consequences. Some of these include immediate eviction from the occupied space, seizure of goods and properties found in violation of the law, and prosecution with penalties including fines, confiscation of items and other legal sanctions. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
And in Guinea, the case against former Prime Minister Dr. Brahima Kasari Fofana was taken up on Wednesday before the Court for the Repression of Economic and Financial Offences (CREF). The former Prime Minister, who served during the Alpha Condé regime, was absent due to health issues, as stated by his lawyers. However, Judge Lansana Souma, after noting the defendant's repeated absences, denied the request to transfer Dr. Fofana to an American hospital in Paris for medical treatment. The judge also ordered the conclusion of the debates in this case and announced that the requisitions and pleadings would commence on January 20.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview this segment takes us to Liberia, where lawyers representing Thomas Etheridge, the main suspect linked to the arson attack on the nation's parliament, have termed his arrest and subsequent detention as a human rights violation. On December 18, 2024, residents of Liberia's capital, Monrovia, awoke to thick black smoke and flames rising from the Parliament building, which destroyed the joint chambers of the legislature. Currently, Thomas Etheridge, a staff in the office of the embattled Speaker, Fonati Kofa, is facing criminal charges as a prime suspect in this incident. Our guest Councillor Jonathan Masakwe, the lead lawyer for Thomas Etheridge, who describes the arrest as kidnapping and a violation of Etheridge's human rights.
The lawyers of Thomas Etheridge, including me, had alleged in the petition for the raid of habeas corpus that he was tortured because he had informed us, the lawyer, that the men supposed to be members of the National Security Agency had insinuated to him that they were going to torture him. And indeed, they took him away by 11 p.m. in the night. That was against his fundamental right. He rights to a lawyer, the right to be represented by a lawyer at every stage of the criminal proceeding.
But your client is been accused of being the prime suspect of the burning of the National Parliament. Has he confided in you that he did it or not?
He told me he didn't do it, and based on all the information that I got from him, the statement that he gave the police, and the statement was clear. So there's no such insinuation that he was involved with any prior incident. That's not the case.
How do you intend to plead for your client, especially when he is a staff in the office of the embattled Speaker, who is at the center of controversy at the Liberian legislature?
So the Liberia should be a country of law, right? And so there should be straight adherence to the rule of law. So there is a principle on our law that the accused, the suspect, or the defendant is presumed innocent until the contrary proof. And there's also a mass in the law that says that one who alleges has the burden of proof. So the state, the government, the state security, the Ministry of Justice, they have the burden of proof. The onus is on the shoulder to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Thomas Etheridge is the perpetrator or the doer of the arson attack on the Capitol building, because now the Liberian National Police, especially so the Inspector General, Gregory Como, is on record. He has announced to the general public that the matter now is now criminal. And arson has been criminalized under the penal law of Liberia. That's section 15.1, subsection A and B of the penal law of Liberia. So that's it. And that's a violation of our laws, but they have the burden of proof. So they have to come clear and produce all of the evidence necessary to convict Thomas Etheridge and other guilty of the crime charge. His relationship with the Speaker of the 55th Legislature has absolutely nothing to the allegation of arson as being alleged by the Inspector General of the Liberian National Police, because there is a strong mark in the law that crimes are not transferable. So if you hold in Thomas Etheridge and others responsible for the arson attack, you cannot transfer that criminal offense to the Speaker. If you want to do that, you have to show the causal connection to hold him responsible.
That was Councillor Jonathan Masakwe, the lead lawyer for Thomas Etheridge, the main suspect of the arson attack on Liberia's parliament. Well, here is Sport News with Thankfully Janko.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The draw for the finals of the CAF African Nations Championship CHAN Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania 2024 was staged in Nairobi, Kenya on Wednesday, 15 January, and has delivered some exciting encounters for the tournament that will be played in August 2025. Kenya were the seeds as hosts in Group A and have been drawn with two-time winners Morocco and DR Congo, as well as Angola and Zambia in a pool packed with past champions and quality teams. Tanzania were seeds as hosts in Group B and will take on Madagascar, Mauritania, Burkina Faso and Central African Republic in their pool. Uganda were also seed as the other host in Group C and meet Niger, Guinea, Qualifier 1 and Qualifier 2, making this pool something of an unknown quantity. Defending champions Senegal are the top seeds in Group D, which is a four-time pool, and will face Congo, Sudan and Nigeria. That promises to be a very interesting one as Senegal look forward to facing Nigeria. Two teams must still book their places at the finals, with Algeria, Comoros, Gambia, Malawi, Egypt, South Africa and Gabon to take part in a qualification campaign to fill the slots in the draw for Qualifier 1 and Qualifier 2. The CHAN has had 7 previous editions and will played in East Africa for the first time since Rwanda were host in 2016. Morocco and Democratic Republic of Congo have each lifted the trophy twice before, along with Tunisia, Libya and defending champions Senegal. The tournament features only players who ply their trade in their domestic leagues and is a platform to showcase the quality of homegrown talent. It is a concept unique to Africa, and that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening. And many thanks to Mado Juf and Sheikh Jaya for the technical support. Do connect with us on our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, @WDR News, and Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our flagship environment program, Enviroscope. I am Emo Edit. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0.